Namaste, my friends. Today's topic is relocation astrology for married couples and partners. We're going to discuss how the place affects the relationship. So if you're an astrologer or a student of astrology and you want to select a place for people, very often what happens is that person is attached to another person, such as in a married couple would be a typical example. So you're trying to find a place that's good for both people, and the place can affect the relationship as well, and that's what we're going to look at, or at least that's the theory. Okay, so here we go. Oh, before I start, we're going to look at two example couples. One is me and my wife Faye, and the other is Bill and Hillary Clinton. Okay, now, in another video that you'll find that I've made on trine, sextiles, and noviles in the astromaps, I mentioned that you can relocate the composite chart. So if you refer to that video, or you already know what a composite chart, you can relocate the composite chart. But today I'm going to show you a different way of seeing how the place affects a couple. And I think that this method I'm going to show you is even more powerful and important than relocating the composite chart. Okay, so here's what we do. I'm going to do myself and my wife Faye. Okay, let's look at Faye's astromap. Okay, so here I am in Sirius 1.3 software, and I'm looking at Faye's birth chart. So there she is, 0 degrees Aries rising, Moon and Jupiter and Sagittarius in 9th house, etc., etc. Okay, so we can do an astromap. So we go up here to Maps, select astromap, we'll do the United States, we'll do just conjunctions and oppositions. This is not what I normally do. I would look at more detail than this. But it just happens in Faye's case that there are some powerful conjunctions and oppositions that appear in the astromap. So I select this astromap, and you all know what this is. If you don't, you can refer to the earlier videos that I made. And this is done in longitude. It's not the in mundo type. It's the longitude style. And we see that her Sun, Mercury, and Pluto come right in this part of the United States, coming right in here. And she was born in the Philippines, and we live in Gainesville, Florida. So she moved here to Florida, which is right about on this yellow line. So to get a better view of that, I will right-click, type Florida, and OK. And we see, oops, it put in a lot of lines. Let me right-click again. It is decided, since we're zoomed in, we might want to see more detail, but no, I only want to see conjunctions and oppositions. So the right-click gets me back in here. I click OK. And here's the Sun conjunct the Ascendant line. As you know from the previous videos, there are these yellow lines coming right on the west side of Gainesville. And in fact, we live on the west side of Gainesville. So if her birth time is highly accurate, it's pinpointed exactly where she moved to. She moves halfway around the world. First we lived on the east side of Gainesville. Then after we got married, moved to the west side of Gainesville, right on her Sun conjunct Ascendant line. So she's with her husband. She's in her element, running the software business. It's her light shines very dramatically, so it's worked for her. And here she is right on her sun line. She was born with a Sun, Mercury, Pluto conjunction, and which we can see by looking at her chart. There's her Sun, Mercury, Pluto conjunction. Clicking back over here on the astromap, we see all of these going right in through here. You know, I'm going to zoom this in, increase the size, make that map a little bigger. Okay, it's got a resizing thing. Okay, so there it is. You don't always see things that obvious, but in this case, Sun conjunct the Ascendant in her relocated chart, showing up here in the astromap. Very dramatic, very positive for her and very true in her life. Now, how would I see how the relationship is affected by her moving here? Well, let me show you. You right-click, and here in the lower right corner, it says Chart to Compare, and it's normal. Means it's going to just do a normal astromap. But I've got other chart entries, and I could compare it to me. So now what it's going to do is an astromap that is an overlay of the two charts. And exactly how it's overlaid I'll explain in a minute, but let me click on OK. And, oh, I've got all that detail again. Let me right-click, go back to Basic Map, click OK. And what this is, it tells you up here in the title, this is phase planets, and what gets cut off here, but it would say my ascendant midheaven. So what we're doing is we're looking at phase planets in relationship to my ascendant midheaven, what aspects they make, and this is saying that her Jupiter is conjunct my midheaven. So it's her planets on my cusps. So her Jupiter is conjunct my midheaven, going almost right through Gainesville here on the east side, which is where I lived when we were, dating and everything. But anyway, very close to Gainesville. Her Jupiter is on my midheaven, my relocated midheaven for this location. Now, up here, as you know, it shows the ascendant midheaven. This is my ascendant midheaven. My relocated midheaven is, as it shows you right over here, also up here, but you can look right there, the midheaven is 23 Sag 54, my relocated midheaven. If I go back and look at her chart, there it is, her midheaven, her Jupiter, 23 Sag 56. And if I move this, if I could zoom in more, there it is, I'm right on the line, 23 Sag 56. So if I do a relocated chart for myself, for Gainesville, the midheaven will be very close to that. I can also click here for wheel, click on Gainesville, and this is the relocated chart with phase planets overlaid on my relocated house cusps, showing that in Gainesville, my relocated midheaven is 23 Sagittarius 39, and her Jupiter is very closely conjunct. Now, I can go back and run a relocated chart for myself for Gainesville, and you'll see that this is true. I have 23 Sag 39 on my relocated midheaven. So her Jupiter, let me close this window, her Jupiter is conjunct my midheaven, and my relocated midheaven in Gainesville. So this is amazing. She moves a huge distance, puts her Sun on the ascendant, and her Jupiter on my midheaven. So the way I interpret this is the person with the planet, in this case phase planets, show how she affects my midheaven. So my career is, she expands Jupiter, my career. That's the interpretation. Very simple. It's so obvious because when we got married, I was writing astrology software with a very small company. We got married. She looked at what I was doing and said, "Oh my gosh, you got all this great stuff. You need to promote this. You need to get this out there." And she starts managing and moving and developing the business, and she runs it. Jupiter on my midheaven. It's really mind-boggling. So you can see how the relationship is affected by simply looking at the overlay of the two charts. So it's really that simple. In this case, it's dramatic. Anybody that knows us would say, "Oh my God, that is incredible." So I put here, amazing. And by the way, I wasn't aware of this when we got married. I wasn't looking at her relocated chart. Maybe I should have been, but I never looked at it. I saw it later. And then I noticed, wow, first of all, her sun on the ascendant. And then when I, developed these features in Kepler and Sirius software, noticed that her Jupiter was on my midheaven. Incredibly accurate how the relationship develops and changes according to the place you're in. Now, would this have happened exactly this way if I lived in a different place? We don't know. But the astrology is suggesting, if we believe in these astrological models, that this would be true. It certainly relates very strongly to what happened. And is still happening. Okay, so there's a simple example. I wanted to show you me and Faye because it involves conjunctions. It's direct, it's simple, it's amazing, but not all relationships are going to involve conjunctions. The place that the couple moves to is not going to involve conjunctions. It could involve midpoints or minor aspects. So I wanted to show you another example of some famous people where it's not as simple as just a conjunction. And we'll do Bill and Hillary Clinton, both of whom obviously are important public figures and obviously married. And one obvious place to look at would be Washington, D.C. And we'll do it both ways. Now, with me and Faye, I've only shown one way just to demonstrate the ideas, but with Bill and Hillary, we'll do it both ways. We'll look at his planets conjunct her relocated houses, relocated ascendant midheaven in Washington, D.C., and vice versa. Okay, so let's do Bill's astromap for Washington, D.C. So here's Sirius. Just going to close that window. And here's Bill Clinton. And I've already pulled up an astromap, so I'll just click on it. And this time I have not removed all of the details when you zoom in to a small area. And here's Washington, D.C. right there. So when you zoom into a small area, you have this option of seeing all these midpoint structures, 5th, 7th, and 9th harmonic aspects. And what I've done here, if I right-click, is I selected Hillary for the person to compare to. So I already had selected that before. And there it is. And what do we see going through Washington, D.C.? For Bill's planets to Hillary's ascendant midheaven, his Sun-Neptune midpoint, the slash, it says Sun/Neptune, is opposite her midheaven. So by living in Washington, D.C., Bill brings his Sun-Neptune energy to Hillary's 4th house cusp. Opposite the midheaven means on her 4th house cusp. This is one reason why I showed me and Faye first, because it was so simple and direct. It helps you understand the concept. Just as Faye expanded my business by putting her Jupiter on my relocated midheaven, Bill Clinton brings his Sun-Neptune to her 4th house cusp, which means Bill, as an idealistic man, as a visionary, as an idealist, as somebody larger than life, more wonderful, putting him on a pedestal, whatever is aspiring and spiritual and idealistic about Bill lands right on her soul, right on her 4th house when they are in Washington, D.C. So she can see him as a great man bringing high ideals and better visions and dreams to society, but with Neptune you have disillusionment. And this is exactly what happened because he was unfaithful in their marriage in Washington, D.C. So they had a lot of idealistic plans and dreams and hopes, but there was also the disillusionment because he didn't live up to the Sun-Neptune possibility. You might say he abused it or got carried away with all of the glamour and glitz and Neptunian reality that he was in, and ended up not being who he said he was, and you could say lying about it, hiding it, and so on. So Sun Neptune on her fourth house, this is what they experience in Washington, D.C., and she has a huge, crushing disillusionment with him in Washington, D.C. with the Sun Neptune. It can be positive, it can be negative. What we'll also notice here is his Sun, 160 degrees, means 4/9, and his Neptune, 4/9, means that Bill has some kind of Sun-Neptune aspect in his chart. If we look at his chart, we see that his Sun at 26 Leo and his Neptune at 6 Libra are 40 degrees 51 minutes. If I go from Leo to Virgo, is 30 degrees plus 10 more, 40 degrees 51 minutes, which we normally consider not to be an important aspect. It's not, a conjunction, opposition, trine, sextile, or whatever. But the 40 degrees is the novile aspect, the 1/9 aspect, and her relocated fourth house cusp in Washington, D.C. falls right in the middle of that novile aspect, right on his Sun-Neptune. And the novile is about community service, is about feeling connected with your community, participating in it, and the noviles are also prone to not take control of their lives, to go with the flow. And you often see a lot of novile aspects in the charts of liberal and Democrat politicians. I'll show this in another video where we see it again in the charts of Obama and Biden and how they tie up together. So whether you are politically a liberal or a conservative, when you look at American politics, there are astrological energies that incline people to certain philosophies and approaches to things, and these novile aspects, especially with Neptune, incline to a high idealism about what can be done with the collective, with the communities, but they are prone to a high idealism and a bit of a fantasy. And so she experienced the fantasy herself with Bill in that place, but at the same time, we could argue that he also did at least try to bring universal health care or better health care and so on to people. Now, I know that these are highly charged political ideas, but what I'm trying to do here is avoid whether you think it's good or bad or get all emotional about it, and just the fact that people do have these ideas about bringing, lowering health insurance was a big idea of Bill and Hillary, and that idealism for the community, and also disillusionment, idealism, trust, faith, but also being taken advantage of, are all possibilities, and we see the whole story written very clearly there. So, this may not be quite as crystal clear and obvious and dramatic to you as phase Jupiter on my midheaven, but if you are a believer in midpoints, or a believer in minor aspects, and especially if you believe in both, it's just as dramatic, just as clear, and just as important. So there we have it. And also his Mars is involved in this also because it's Sun to his Mars and Neptune. So he's got Sun 1/9 Mars. We'll see that. Wow, I just thought of it. Obama has the same exact aspect. I'll do that in a future video. Sun 1/9 Mars. So there's the Sun, Mars, Neptune. Sun 1/9 Mars and Neptune. 1/9 to that conjunction. And in the astromap, we also see the Mars 160. And there's the Sun-Mars midpoint, just west of Washington. So there he is, taking action for his ideals, for the community, and also disillusionment and disillusioning her. This is the interaction of the two people. This is how Bill Clinton affects Hillary. Now let's look at it the other way around. Let's go to Hillary's chart. I'll just close this to get it out of the way. There's her chart, and we'll look at the astromap. And again, if I right-click, we see that I've selected Bill Clinton as a person to compare to, and it also tells us up here Hillary's planets and Bill Clinton's house cusps. And what we see here is that we're looking at Hillary's planets. How does she affect Bill? Her Mercury is trine his midheaven, going right through DC. So she's bringing ideas, communication, clarity to him. Well, I don't know about clarity because Neptune is 80 degrees, which is the 2/9. So she's bringing idealism, Mercury-Neptune. She has a Mercury-Neptune just as Bill has a Sun-Neptune. Let's look at her chart. Her Mercury at 21 Scorpio. Her Neptune at 11 Libra. The 1/9 aspect again. So, what's happening is the relocated midheaven of Bill. I can click on Washington, D.C. His midheaven, his relocated midheaven at 21 Cancer, exactly trine her Mercury, and her Mercury and Neptune are 1/9, and this makes it 2/9. So it's a 2/9, 1/9 trine. So I know that these ninths or novile aspects are considered to be unimportant by probably most astrologers, the great majority, but I think they're hugely important. And again, we see Neptune involved. So Hillary's Mercury-Neptune connecting with his midheaven. Idealistic ideas about bringing things to the community. Bill starts off his presidency trying to do something about lowering health insurance. So these are great idealistic dreams and visions about how the community can work together. And she's helping develop that, promote that, do the research with her Saturn also involved with the semi-sextile there. So, there's your basic story of what's going on with them in Washington, D.C. And if Hillary runs for president with her Mercury trine midheaven and her Neptune 2/9, she's going to continue this legacy of trying to bring higher ideals and trust to the community, and it will continue to be what people would regard as a liberal agenda. Okay, so there you have it. You compare, you do the astromap, and you right-click if I want to change it, and you go in and you just change who it is. If I want to just see Hillary's astromap, I go back to normal, and there's her astromap. Oh, actually, what I just said is not so necessarily true about her if she becomes president, because that was her in relationship to Bill. In her own relocation chart, she's got Saturn-Neptune midpoint coming through DC, indicating the desire to do some real good, real lasting and high idealistic good. Hopefully she will also have the practical competency and application of ideas to get those things done. Okay, let's see if I have any more notes here. So I talked about this in Bill's chart. The Mars and Neptune are 9th harmonic. Sun is 1/9, has Mars and Neptune conjunction. And the negative of Novile is going with flow, not taking control of his life. He was unfaithful to his wife. As a negative manifestation of that, of those astrological energies. Okay, so Let me show you this. This is why I make these notes. This is interesting. If we go back to Sirius, and let's close this, I pointed out that in Hillary's chart, her Neptune and Mercury are 40 degrees apart. Her Neptune is 11 Libra 22, Mercury is 21 Scorpio 19. They are almost exactly 40 degrees apart. The orb is only 3 minutes. So they're within 3 minutes of being exactly 40 degrees. Very strong 1/9 aspect, almost an exact 1/9 aspect. And if we look at Bill's chart, his Mercury and Neptune are sextile to each other. So his Mercury at 7 Leo 36 is sextile his Neptune with a half a degree orb, also sextile his Mars, of course. Sextiles his Mars-Neptune conjunction. And the sextiles and the noviles are very similar. Trines, sextiles, noviles are all soft aspects. So we see the soft aspect of Mercury-Neptune in his chart. We see the soft aspect of Mercury-Neptune in her chart. And they both have similar philosophy and political orientation, which is to hope to see everybody working together in this idealistic, peaceful, cooperative way. Maybe it's too idealistic, maybe it's too trusting, maybe it's too naive, would be the criticism of it. Maybe it doesn't allow for enough individual expression. I mean, you can have different points of view, but the theme is there very clearly in the charts, and that theme gets highlighted in the relationship between them in Washington, D.C., and they do work together very effectively. She goes on to have powerful positions in the presidency, in the government, and may, had a little slip of the tongue there, she may go for presidency in the future as well. And he will no doubt be supporting her just as she supported him. Okay, so there's the basic idea. You can, if you're relocating a chart for somebody, and that person is married or has a close relationship with somebody else, and you want to see how that place will affect the relationship, this is very important. You could see what happened with me and Faye, where she takes on this role of expanding the business, of promotion, development, running things. We can see how Bill and Hillary work together on their ideas for building community, building a better network, a better social fabric for America, what they regard as a better social fabric, one that's very idealistic and humanitarian, built on big dreams and trust among people. So there you have it. It's very important. I could give many, many examples. I just wanted to show you the basic idea. And this can be very helpful in your astrological work. And I think especially if you do consider that the minor aspects, especially noviles and relocation, because the noviles show where you're comfortable, and sextiles and trines, as well as the conjunctions and oppositions to relocated cusps. And if you look at the midpoints as well, I'm sure that you'll get a very thorough and much more complete sense of what's going to happen to people and to their relationship as they go to different places. Very powerful, gives you tremendous control over your plans and strategies for the future. Okay, thank you very much. Hope you got something out of that. Take care. Namaste.